Good morning and happy Sunday. It is currently 8 a.m. and we are coming to you live looking outdoors. We're seeing hazy skies, some cloud cover. We will see that sun peaking later this afternoon, starting off in the 80s in some locations. Tomball at 79 degrees, and it's going to be another hot day across southeast Texas as we head into the afternoon hours. The record for today is at 95 degrees at Bush Airport, and we could get up to 94, especially if we do get those peaks of sunshine later this afternoon. So I know we're starting off a bit cloudy, but we will see that sky clear out later today. And we're also dealing with those hazy skies that are going to be in the picture for much of the week. We are expecting a pattern change, but a very minor pattern change as we go into Tuesday and into Wednesday. So if you are planning your day today, expect those temps to be in the 80s, at least by the noon hour, 89 degrees by 1 p.m. Ultimately, we're going to see highs in the 90s. 94 in Aldine, 94 at Tomball, but those areas that do remain cloudy. Some areas might end up in the lower 90s in terms of upper 80s, but hot, hazy, and humid another day today as we go into the afternoon hours. The humidity also in full force, and it's going to bring those hot feels like temps or heat index. It's going to feel as hot as 96 in Houston, 98 in Conroe. I wouldn't be surprised if some of us actually feels like 100 degrees out there, and it's when you factor in that humidity. The hazy skies, all thanks to those agricultural fires burning in Mexico and Central America. This is agricultural burning season for Mexico and Central America as they prepare for the growing season months that happen between June and October. So some of that smoke is heading our way, and usually it's what we see during this time of year. Nothing too concerning, but it may cause some slightly lower air quality levels, but we're not seeing unhealthy air quality levels as of today. Radar's looking mostly quiet. If you have any travel plans across the state, it's going to be mostly dry. Might run into a few showers out near San Antonio, even down to Corpus Christi. There's a little bit of a disturbance moving through along the jet stream that could bring some possible showers going into the next few days. We've seen a rather southerly track, a southerly shift of that dome of high pressure that we've been tracking for the past few days, and it ultimately has been responsible for keeping us hot and humid, at least for this past week. That has moved further south. You're able to see that the jet stream, see those winds blowing in over Texas and the track of the cloud cover. The fact that it's further south has opened up the door for maybe a few of those minor disturbances to bring a few showers into the picture by Monday and into Tuesday. Ultimately, it's going to be bringing in another weak cold front. That front's going to struggle to make it past southeast Texas, but it could bring maybe an isolated storm or two into Tuesday afternoon. And so when I say cool front, I don't really mean a strong cold front. We're expecting only a very slight drop in temperatures heading into Wednesday and Thursday. So we're going to go from the upper 90s to lower 90s, not by much, but the good news with this frontal boundary is that we're going to see a drop in the humidity. So it's been very muggy out there for the past few days. Once we see that drop in the humidity with this frontal boundary, it could be more comfortable outside going into the middle of the week and into Thursday. So that slight drop in humidity, all thanks to that cold front, that's what we're looking forward to, even though we could see a slight drop in temperatures. However, unfortunately, temps are expected to remain in the 90s at least for the next 7 days. Maybe going to go from 90 to 91 for those afternoon high temps for Wednesday and into Thursday. So as we look at the future temps, we're going to have a rather hot outlook heading into Tuesday. 100 degrees for San Antonio, Columbus 96, 96 for Houston, and then once that frontal boundary moves through, we will see that slight drop heading into the end of the week. So going to go from about 91 for a high for the end of our work week. The Climate Prediction Center is still calling for above normal temperatures for much of the southwest U.S. That really is what we're going to see, and that's what we're forecasting. This is expected to remain at least through May 24th to May 28th. That's how as we end the month of May. But as you look at those high temperature trends, our average high for this time of year usually 88 degrees, and we are expecting it to remain above that going into the next 10 days. So 93 for a high Monday, 96 for a high on Tuesday, Wednesday, but we will see that slight drop heading into Thursday and Friday. So as far as our 7-day forecast, we are expecting those conditions to remain mostly just hot and humid. We are looking forward to a slight maybe rain chance for Monday, but Tuesday is when that front's going to make its way through. That's going to bring some cooler conditions heading into the middle of the week, 91 for a high, and we could see an isolated storm into Thursday. models are hinting that we could see another disturbance moving through. And like I said, it's all thanks to that southerly shift in that jet stream as we head into the end of our work week. So of course, this is our live stream, our extended live stream. So if you're just now joining us, we are expecting a high of around 94 degrees for today. And that's going to be the areas that receives the more sunlight for today. So we're starting off a bit cloudy and hazy out there, but we are forecasting a high of 94, and it might hit that near record or tie the record for 95 that was set back in 2022, but it's going to be hot and humid. Feels like temps ranging between 98 to 100 degrees, and we are expecting this record heat to continue. Abnormally warm conditions expected to continue through much of the week. We could see a pattern change by Wednesday and into Thursday with the arrival of a very weak cold front. But as we look at that hourly planner, if you do have time, plans outdoors, if you want to go maybe jogging, I think the best time to jog is maybe between the hours of 7 and 8. Sun will be setting at 8:09 this evening. And usually between 7 and 8, that's when the sun's setting and it's less hot. We're still seeing those breezy conditions, and so it's going to feel a little comfortable, but not by far going into the afternoon hours. So downtown Houston, 92 for a high today. Tomball at 94. It is going to be a bit cooler along the coast. I know this says 79, but I think we're actually going to be in the upper 80s for Galveston. So if you're heading out to the coast, definitely great weather for that, but be extremely cautious if you do plan to be in the water. Keep an eye on the young ones. There is going to be a high rip current risk for all of our area beaches going into this afternoon. When you factor in the humidity, it's going to feel like it's going to be the upper 90s. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those areas that do receive the sunlight feeling like it's in the hundreds, and we're still going to be influenced by that smoke from south of us, especially out in Mexico and Central America. That's really the cause of all of the hazy skies that you've been seeing for the past few days, and our future cast is expecting that to last at least through Tuesday and into Wednesday. So radar right now, mostly quiet. There's maybe a shower or two out in south central Texas, but we are seeing that southerly shift of that heat dome more so over the Yucatan Peninsula. So the center of that high, you're able to see those wind streams blowing around that high pressure system. This is the jet stream that's moving in from the southwest. You have a low pressure system causing some rain up near the Four Corners regions. Also, you have another little low right here, and that in turn is just going to send a few of those disturbances our way through the week. So we could get some slight relief by Monday with maybe an isolated shower or two, but it's going to be the arrival of this cold front that's going to be in place by Tuesday that could bring maybe an isolated storm maybe Tuesday, but it's also going to bring some slightly cooler conditions. And that front is going to struggle to make it past southeast Texas. It might stall over us, but the good news is that it is going to bring some drier conditions. So we're going to finally get a break from the humidity heading into the middle of the week, and you're able to see that with that humidity future track. Of course, you see the higher humidity is the darker green colors. When you have those lighter colors moving in, that really is an indication of very dry air. Not very dry, but drier air in place for the middle of the work week through the end of the work week. But temps, we're only going to go from the upper 90s to lower 90s. I call this a Houston version of a cold front going into this week. So hopefully it's going to feel all the more comfortable out there, even though we might still top out at around 91 degrees. And then we are still expecting warmer than normal temperatures, at least as we end the month of May. So 10-day high temperature trends in the 90s, slight dip in place for Thursday and into Friday, 92 for a high Saturday, 93 for a high on Sunday. And then looking at that 7-day forecast, expect those conditions to remain mostly just hot and humid for the next few days. And we are also expecting those conditions to remain mostly just a bit on the more warm side for the end of our work week. So expecting those warm conditions to last at least through Thursday and into Friday, but we will see those conditions once again become slightly cooler by the middle of the week through Thursday, and definitely expecting some lower humidity levels. Also, an important reminder, hurricane season only 14 days away. That is 2 weeks into the start of hurricane season. We're not seeing anything right now, but just want to have those action plans ready if you do, if in case a storm does impact the Gulf or Texas. And as always, you can find the latest weather updates on KHOU.com or by downloading the KHOU 11 app. And we always have these extended forecasts going on throughout the day, and you can access that on KHOU 11 Plus. Of course, have a great rest of your Sunday. I'm meteorologist Chris Ramirez with the KHOU 11 Weather Team.